You forgot to do that last week.
Yeah, I forgot to do that right there.
Tell them who we are, Bob.
Hey folks, welcome to the Tuesday afternoon edition of the Wild Bob and Ronnie Show, coming to you on UGG TV from La Pollock, Tennessee, US of A, in the wonderful state of Tennessee. And we're just tickled to death to have you, and we hope we will kindly give you some things to think about today.
State of Tennessee, we're usually in the state of confusion.
Well, that's the state I was born in.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
okay.
the state of confusion. And, but you know, about the whole thing, everything's pretty good here, except I'm still kind of perturbed about them failing to do away with the Barney Fife law. And, you know, I was just thinking I want to put a sign out here on the road.
Well, that's the reason you ain't.
I think,
The reason you're out of cord, you got it all wrapped around your leg.
there you go. I got to stay warm somehow. You know, put it out on the road. Everybody should know this, and maybe everybody does, but all of this stuff you get over the television and over the radio and in the newspaper regarding the ownership of guns. And the more I think about it, the more I realize that this is very, very true. You have a drug bust. What do they get? Drugs, cash, and guns, right? You arrest somebody for breaking in somewhere. What do they do? He's carrying a gun and he's a convicted felon. Everybody that's not supposed to have a gun has one, okay? And the laws of this country keep all of the good people from gun ownership. You know, they say, oh, they got no business carrying guns into a bar. I carried one in a bar for 15 years and ain't never shot nobody. I did walk in between two fellows. One had a 38, one had a 357 pointed at him, and stuck my fingers in the barrel. I said, now, I know I'm going to lose some fingers, but you fellas going to get hurt too.
That sounds to me like something I saw Maverick do
Well,
one time.
Maverick come after me. He come up with that after I did that. Because Maverick didn't start about 1974 or something like that. And I did that before Maverick ever even thought about doing it. And I can tell
I'd
you,
borrowed some fingers before I got in that fight.
Ray East and Hertie Hill. And they were arguing over who was the best guitar picker and the best singer.
Gee. Well, that wouldn't do me getting no argument like that. I'd lose and have to shoot myself.
Yeah, okay. But now, we want to welcome you here.
Well, we got to tell them about our extra special third amigo over here.
We've got our local wizard with us today.
The third amigo, accomplice.
R.L. Henson is going to keep us on track and straighten us out when we wander too far astray. So,
Anybody want any coffee?
no, I'm fine. I've been drinking all day.
Well, have your own attitude.
That's good. That's good. You know, I've been, you know, at my age, I'm really getting into this
I'm fine.
electrical means of communication. You know, internet and texting on the phone, you know, and email and all that sort of thing. I'm really getting into it, you know, and I've got a little I want to get a response to something here. I might even make it a contest that I want you to, whoever can come up with the closest number of how many tweets, how many posting online, how many blogs will Barack Obama have to get people to do in order to make Vladimir Putin resign?
When do we find out the answer to this?
When Vladimir resigns.
Well, you know, it's going to be a cold day when that happens, ain't it?
Well, no, it's worked.
I got one guy here wanting to petition Putin to resign and another wanting to patent trees. I
mean, you know, it's worked in all other areas, and really, And if you want to know the truth, Barack Obama has mounted a tweet offensive against Putin.
All we got to do is get Jesse Jackson and knocked on his butt. What was his name? Sharpton.
Al Charlatan.
Yeah. If we can get them two guys to organize their bunch of thugs.
No. You don't do that. You trick Putin into saying something bad about these two guys. Then you'll get the response you want.
Is that because of their color?
What color are they?
I don't know.
I'm colorblind.
Huh?
I'm colorblind.
I am too.
Well, now,
You know, black is not a color.
I understand it. I've looked that up.
all
Black is the absence of color.
Right.
But
And we got all sorts of colors in if we white, ain't we?
I had to fill out a form, the standard form for a little medical, a little surgery thing here not long ago, and I went down through there, and there's that question, what race or something, and they've got all these things. I don't know whether they use the word white or Caucasian or colored or black, or they had a whole list of things. And I didn't fill out any of them. I couldn't really figure out.
I just write yes across there.
Well, I couldn't figure out which one I was when I come to think about
Well,
it.
I've noticed every time it says sex, I put occasionally.
I put once in a while.
Well,
I'm going to start using Native American on all my nationalities because I was born here.
well, that's a very good point. You are
Yeah.
Native American. Hadn't thought about that. But it asked all sorts of questions that I thought was kind of dumb, and one of them was, I think, was I pregnant, and I was pretty sure I wasn't. So I didn't see no point in answering a lot of these questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe you could look at my name and tell what the gender I am, and all these things that are just dumb.
Rachel Louise.
Yeah. I didn't see no point in answering a lot of the questions, and I just left them blank. I mean, what's the point?
And they attack you anyway?
Oh, yeah, they went ahead and did the procedure and whatever else just the same.
Yeah, I know. They do that
Right.
sometimes.
But yeah, you know, these tweets and everything, you look at the people it's caused to have to resign here in this country.
Ain't that stupid, ain't it?
Yeah, and what are they going with? Obama is mounting a tweet offensive against Putin.
Well, I'll tell you what, I can't figure out Twitter. I mean, I read it and don't know what I've read. So I sure ain't going to start sending nothing out. I mean, these people are stupid. You get out there and get fired, lose a $2 million a year job because you sent out something you thought would be funny and it wouldn't nobody see it but your brother. And his brother seen it and everybody else's brother seen it.
Yeah, well, you know, but see, where they miss it is they didn't want anybody else to see it.
Yeah.
I don't care who sees mine.
I don't know how in the world they manage to capture these things. Somebody send out something stupid and then take it down immediately and somebody grabs it and saves it. They must have a program goes through recording these things.
It's an online app.
Must be.
Yeah.
That catches everything somebody, if you're gunning for them, you just wait till they say something stupid. Oh, I hope they ain't taping this show.
Well, you know, they could be, and then they'd throw it back on me when I start getting older.
Yeah.
Over the years and the times, well, I guess about everything has been discussed a little bit or touched upon, and opinions like the weapons and whatever. The people who don't feel that you should be allowed to own or carry a weapon or whatever else, I think most of these people have never been in a situation to where that their welfare, or whether they come out at one piece, depending on weapons. And what you were talking about, like bars, the bars that I've been in, most everybody, well, a large percentage of the people in there are armed.
Oh yeah, what they're supposed to be or not.
Well, just
You
because
know, that keeps peace and order.
well, it's a mutual respect.
You're a lot less likely to start a fight when somebody's got a gun than you will with somebody that hadn't.
Well, this is true. Harm could come to you or whatever else.
Right.
So, Anyhow, it's like I say, if I'd a whole lot rather have one and not need it, is be in a situation than not have a weapon.
Right. Well, the lady that leads the fight for freedom of guns and everything in Texas was in a restaurant one day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And this
I heard
crazy shooter come in there and started shooting. She and her mother and dad got behind a table, and her mother and dad got killed. Well, she had a gun in her purse, in her car, but the local laws at that time would not let her bring it into that restaurant. She said if she had had her purse, she would have dropped him right after he fired the first shot.
Well, at least she'd have made him duck and dodge. Whether
Yeah.
she'd have got him the first shot, she'd have had several more.
You said
tries.
that right, yeah.
And
Well, I don't know if it, under the Barney Fife law, Barney can't carry but one bullet, and that's in his shirt pocket.
the things that make no sense is the people that talk about green and gun control and all this stuff and whatever. Whenever I see the people in high positions, like you name any of them, that go around with the bodyguards and then telling us that we shouldn't be able to defend ourselves, then they might get my interest. And it's kind of like people that talk about going green and they drive out to a protest in their fossil fuel, if you want to call it that, vehicle to get there with the air conditioner running. And they go back to their home where the place is climate controlled. Whenever they cease to do that, then they're going to kind of get my attention. It boils down to kind of like Al Gore is telling us all this stuff about being green and conserving and whatever, but yet he consumes far more energy than the average individual does.
$24,000 a year just to light and heat his home.
This is what I'm talking about. When they change their way of doing things, then
And he's never there.
yeah, a good point too. It'll sort of it would have a lot more effect on my way of thinking when I see people do things instead of telling us how to do things, and then they're doing it different.
Well, I don't know why there's not any common sense in the energy problems that we have in this country.
Well, now there was a documentary, and I don't know what it was. Something to do. Well, I can tell you what it was. I can't tell you what location I saw it on, but it had to do with corn, and it was showing all of the things that could be done with corn. And it's really interesting. Some stuff that I had never thought of, like the clear plastic container, or what we call plastic, are made from corn.
A lot of it
A lot of it is, and I didn't know that. I thought it was all oil-based, but
They make some pretty good drinking stuff over in Gatlinburg out of that corn.
Right.
well,
Make pretty good liquid things, too.
they, anyhow, what it boiled down to, this was in Iowa, and of course, whenever they start talking about the uses of corn, up comes the ethanol thing. But they said that for every 1.3 gallons of ethanol, it takes 1 gallon of what we call fossil fuel to
It takes
produce
1 gallon.
1.3 gallons.
Okay, all right.
But the drawback to it
The
is
fuel efficiency, the ethanol.
the ethanol, the amount of energy, you don't get near the amount of energy out of the 1.3 of ethanol as you do the 1
gallon of,
petroleum.
right, yeah.
So thus, we're going backwards on this thing. According to the documentary, you'd be just as well off not to even plant the corn if you're going to use it for this purpose.
Well, you know the way to really
Yeah.
curtail
I mean, all we're doing,
Yeah.
it's just like taking $1 out of one pocket and sticking it in the other pocket. But the thing of it is, on this,
you're losing
we're
some.
losing money.
Well, here's what they need to do. I really do to settle this ethanol question. Make them use ethanol to produce ethanol.
Well, it'll go broke if you do that.
That's what I
Well,
know.
now listen, fellas, here's your problem. You've been in business all your life, Henson,
Ever since I can remember.
and you too, Bob,
Yeah.
and I have. And we look at these things and think how stupid that is, but you're thinking the wrong way. these guys that are in business doing that are not depending on their product to make them a living. They're depending on their buddies in Washington to make them a living.
In other words, they're dependent on the politicians taking it from the working people out here and handing it over to the other people and skimming some off the top as it goes
It's
along.
the same way that the cab companies in New York hold the medallions that permit to drive a cab $1 million a piece. It's the same reason you can't have them there independent, internet-based individual cab sharing things in Nashville. It's the reason you can't get out here and cut somebody's hair without a license. I mean, if you give me a bad haircut, I won't come back. But if I like it, you're not allowed to cut it. Not charge me for it anyway. It's the same reason you can be put in jail if you advise somebody on where to lay their furniture out in some states. Just say, well, why don't you move this couch over there? You have violated the law.
You're an interior
You're an
designer or
interior
something.
decorator without a license. Now, all that and using ethanol for gas is to make people money. It's not business sense. It's cronyism. It's the way these people make a living. It's just like this. We have the cleanest air and water we've ever had in the lifetime of anybody now living. But we're going to do more. We ought to be using our fossil fuels to get ourselves at the head honcho in the feeding line, and everybody come to us.
Using their own model as to when the tipping point is going to occur on global warming and that sort of thing. Using their own model, if every automobile in the world was an electric car, it would delay it by 1 hour.
Now, it depends on where you make your electricity.
Huh?
Depends on where you make your electricity.
Well, it might not even delay it any.
Yeah, that's right. It absolutely might
But
not dull.
they say that's assuming practically no carbon output on making the electricity.
Okay, then.
Okay.
Then you probably go backwards.
They're just talking about eliminating the carbon from internal combustion engines.
Yeah.
Okay. It would delay 1 hour. Doomsday.
If there was going to be a doomsday.
If we look at this thing,
But you got to try.
Oh yeah.
right.
Long we
Ethanol
tried.
and solar energy, all these things can be experimented with without laying out untold millions of dollars. It's like making ethanol. You could build a still and see what it takes to produce this stuff on a small amount instead of such scale.
You know, I have an ethanol permit, but unless I wanted to go like these guys out in Indiana and Nebraska and everything, where they water heavily, they fertilize heavily, they get somewhere around 400 or 500 bushels an acre, you know, and then they go and sell that corn for somewhere like $7, $8, $9 a bushel to make ethanol, and that's one of the main reasons you can't buy beef or hamburger or anything at any decent price right now.
Well, that's correct. Personally, the use of corn, the most efficient use of corn would be to make food stuffing.
Jim Beam.
Well, yeah, of course, we got to always have a little refreshment, but I'm kind of partial to wild turkey myself. But anyhow, the most efficient use of corn would be to produce food. And now, when I say food,
Well, it is a food.
Well, what I'm talking about though is for bacon, bread.
That animals convert it to.
Right, but here's the thing. Whenever it takes several pounds of corn to produce 1 pound of beef. Several pounds.
Let me tell you something. The most efficient way to use corn as energy is to burn it and make electricity out of
As
it.
coal. Burn it like you would coal. Is
Yeah.
that what you're saying?
Stalk and everything.
Stalk and all, okay.
That's still not a smart way to make electricity because
No.
you're
using
raising
food
the cost of food. But
Right.
but now turning it into ethanol is one of the least efficient ways to use it.
Oh yeah, I guarantee you it is. You know.
but also, if you're going to use a corn product or whatever else for feed, fish will produce far more food per pound of investment than cattle ever thought about.
Who wants a fish burger though?
Oh boy,
How about fish and meatloaf?
Yeah, well,
Fish and gravy?
I'll tell you, I'm partial to them myself.
Fish and gravy?
Well, fish.
Well, yeah, fish. I like
But now
fish.
you don't have to mix fish with Jell-O or fish with your ice cream. But still, yeah, fish is a good.
No, bologna and whipped cream's good together, but that don't mean I don't want fish and whipped cream.
But I'll tell you, the good thing I've seen about fish too is they don't ride down them dadgum fences. You don't have to chase
You know,
No, but you hard to fill up the pond.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit away of what we're really
getting way
at.
off center.
But do you know that you can take and make a fish basket, let's say 4 by 4, stock it, make it small enough that the fingerlings can't get out, submerge it out here in Norris Lake, and have a place where you can go by and you can feed them every day. And the fresh water and the oxygen will come by, and they'll carry the waste away and everything. And you, like you say, you can raise a humongous amount of fish in that, say, 4 by 4 by 6 foot basket, and they can't get out. You just go by and feed them every day.
Yeah, throw in some roadkill.
Huh?
Throw in some roadkill.
Yeah, throw in some road. Well, what you do on the roadkill to keep from contaminating the water, and they use roadkill a lot. They take and put them up above the basket. They put it on a wire, and then they let the flies lay their eggs in there, and they fix it where the maggots crawl out. They fall down in there, and the fish eat it. I mean, that's really what
What
you
happens when your food falls apart and falls in?
Well, that's
Got
okay, but
got
you
enough
know,
possum?
well, no, basically what you do, they put it on a stainless steel sheet, which is slanted down, okay?
I got one more question. What do they eat in the wintertime?
Huh?
What do they eat in the wintertime?
Well, see, you don't set them up to feed them roadkill necessarily, but if you build the right kind of structure there, which is black, it will be warm enough for around here for the flies to lay in that thing year round.
I ain't seen any flies when it's 40 below zero.
Well, now you ain't gonna see very many 40 degrees below zero here either.
No, but I've seen it cold enough there ain't no flies. They can't
Well,
lay on.
what happens when spring comes?
They
You
come
got
out.
flies.
Yeah,
The flies' life ain't but about 2 or 3 weeks.
that's right. They lay eggs and
Well, how do they do that around here in this cold weather?
they find a spot and lay eggs, and then they hatch out when it warms up.
Why wouldn't the spot be where you build this thing up over the fish net to lay eggs?
Well, they wouldn't be having no maggots in the wintertime.
Well, sure, the eggs hatch. They're hatching all the time in these other places where they're laying them.
Fish.
The fly's not laying eggs and then staying alive till next spring.
No, but the
And
eggs
the
are.
eggs are not staying there and hatching next spring.
I think they are.
The fish
Some of them
go
are
dormant.
if they're frozen, huh?
Catfish go dormant in the winter.
Not probably,
They
yeah.
do. When the temperature goes down to a certain level, fish they might feed on something down low or whatever, but they'll go down. They won't stay up there in that top cold water. They'll go down to the right temperature. Temperature is very important for the fish.
Yeah.
And they'll
That
go
means
down
you got to
and
let
they'll
the
just lay
cage
there.
down, don't it?
Well,
Well, now you make the cage deep enough, you
the-
know.
the cage and the roadkill, I'll tell you first of all, you'd have to protect anything you put out there because the buzzards would get it.
Yeah,
Ain't no doubt
fish
about
eat
it.
buzzards too.
Yeah.
And my thing is, if I had that many catfish in a cage, I might actually catch one.
Well, you know that I've got some articles up there. You can raise trout.
Yeah.
You can raise bluegills or whatever you want in those.
Have you ever harvested any of your catfish?
No, I haven't, but I need to.
You need any help? Let me know. I
I'll
need somebody I can dip
I'll
out.
tell you what, when they're getting down, and you go to feed them, if you ain't careful, you know, they're catfish.
Mhm.
They're so trained, they'll be climbing up in the trees waiting for you. But no joke, they'll follow you around.
You ain't got them crossed with goats, do you?
They're glad to see you, and they ain't bashful at all. They'll come right up, help themselves.
Got any of that long yet?
Oh yeah, there's a few.
I'm gonna have to follow you around.
Anyhow, I don't know how we got off on this.
Where did you get your start at?
Bought them from the co-op.
They sell them?
Yeah, oh, there you
Yeah,
can
you
buy
can,
how many fingerlings you want down there. They post when they're gonna bring them, you know, and you sign up.
Now, how much does a minter cost?
I don't have any.
They're different prices for different sizes, and I can't even remember what I paid for. I believe I started out, I believe, with a couple, 2 or 3 dozen of catfish and bass and whatever, and I believe I had about, $40, $50, $60 in the startup of it. And catfish, of course, I did some studying on catfish. I considered it as a business years ago. Looked very seriously at it. Anything, UT can give you tons of information on catfish about the reproduction of them, the feeding of them, you name it. Anything you want to know about, they can give it to you.
If I had a water supply, I'd be in the fish raising business. Blame if I wouldn't have fish to eat.
Well, if you got a low spot out there that'll hold water,
APA.
yeah, EPA. I tell you, we'll get off on another subject. I was given an article to read the other day, and the EPA is working on another thing to do with water, to where that right now the law is on navigable waters.
Yeah.
You know, they cover anything's navigable, but now they're wanting to redefine the word redefine the definition, give another definition to navigable, and then what it boils down to is they're wanting to control dry water beds.
That's correct.
Yeah,
and they already tax you for if you've got a roof.
Well, if they here's what, where you've got anything, I don't care what it is, if it's not perfectly level, water will create a water bed, a path that it follows. And they're wanting to take control of this in the matter to where that you cannot use it in any type of mining or anything else. That's where that's a protected area.
Yeah.
If it's
Absolutely, that I mean they're after total control, and they've already that's the reason your food prices are high. It's the reason your gas and your energy prices are high. It's the reason you can't afford to heat this place in the wintertime. I mean, we've just been had, and that's what I'm saying. It was a good idea to clean things up, but we're done. We need to quit.
Well, there's nothing wrong with having sensible, and I believe they use that in sensible gun control.
Yeah.
Why don't we have something about sensible?
Well, sensible gun control means being able to hit what you aim at.
Well, that's right. But there's ways to control water to where that it does not erode. There's it's a simple kind of thing. The deeper the water is, and the narrower it is, the more it'll erode due to the fact of the weight of the water. You can spread out, instead of having something a foot deep and a foot wide, you can make it 3 foot wide and 6 inches deep on that principle. In other words, the wider you make it and the
slower it moves, the less kinetic energy, and the more it evaporates.
Well, no, I'm talking about it don't have time to evaporate. What I'm talking about is when it's moving. But if it's deep, you've got the weight of the water, whereas if it's shallow, you don't have as, and that's.
But the more it's spread out, the more surface area you have exposed, and the faster it evaporates.
Yeah, but if it's moving fast enough, you're right.
I used to do a lot of landscaping, and rather than building a wall and a ditch around something, we would build a swell, which would make it come up and spread out over a large area, and it would not erode below the swell. It would just spread out. I've done that many a time.
But anyhow, what we're getting off to is where we're going to is we're changing the definitions of the words, and this is what the EPA is talking about doing right here. And they state it 2 times in the article very clearly that it's not a change of law; it's a change of the definition of the words.
That's not a change of law.
That's not a change of a law.
That's what they do to the Constitution all the time.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Well, now listen, fellas, you got to realize that this is the first day we've been here and actually not had to just kind of fire up a little warming from down at Diggers.
Well, we've had to use some though out there on that forklift today.
But now,
Well, don't you tell Digger because his feelings are really easy to hurt
I
now.
was going to say, but Digger's still down there, and he's got forklift propane and grill propane and camping propane and all sorts of stuff like that. So 562-5444 right in the middle of the road, Sawmill Hollow.
562-5444.
5444? I thought it was 5444.
Yeah, 5444.
I thought
Okay.
it was 5444.
Well, now that could be what it is.
It's always easier for me to remember 2 numbers than it is 4 numbers.
That's dumb.
5444.
But did you go down and see Digger? He was down there this morning.
5440 was what a war was fought over, but 5444 is Digger's propane number.
Right. 562-5444.
Did they have a war over that number?
5440 or fight.
Did they fight or did they compromise?
That was part of the War of 1812, wasn't it?
Was that
No,
the
it's
July-
No, it wasn't.
Spanish-American War, wasn't it?
No, 5440 had to do with the border between Canada and Oregon, didn't it? British Columbia. Let's see here.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I believe you're right.
Now let's see if we went to war over it.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
tell
did
us
that.
right here. We can get everything right here.
But whatever happened to Tippecanoe and Tyler, too?
Or fight. 5440 or fight. But I don't want that. I want to search it. There we go.
Uh-huh.
Oregon country, the West Mountain Trail.
Yeah,
Oregon.
Mexico. It's in northern Mexico.
Yeah, way northern.
Yeah, way north. About where it is now, you know.
Yeah. The Oregon boundary dispute or the Oregon question arose as a result of competing British and American claims to Pacific Northwest North America. The first half of the 19th century, both United Kingdom and USA had territorial and commercial aspirations in the region. Let's see. Democratic President James K. Polk won the 1844 election, then sought a compromise boundary along the 49th parallel, the same boundary proposed by previous U.S. administrators. Well, they evidently didn't go to war, because I don't remember a war with Kansas then.
Does the northern border lay on the 49th parallel?
Now what?
The 49th. Is that our border between the degree on our borders with Canada?
Let's see. Polk returned to his early position on the Oregon boundary and accepted compromise along the 49th parallel as far as the state of Georgia. The agreement, that ain't the state of Georgia. The agreement was made official in the 1846 Oregon Treaty, and the 49th parallel remains the boundary between the United States and Canada west of the Lake of the Woods. Other than the marine boundary, which curves south through the Haro Strait, settled over the Rossio Strait in 1872, the Strait of Juan de Fuca, and so it excludes from the United States Vancouver Island and the Gulf Islands. As a result, much of Point Roberts, a small peninsula extending south into the Strait of Georgia from Canada, is an enclave of the United States. Well, now we know, don't we? You were talking about the Spot War. Whenever they went to war with Mexico in, what was it, 1850 something?
Yeah, I think so.
And the Spot Resolution is where George Lincoln was in that war. That was a Black Hawk War Lincoln was in. The Spot Resolution is where Lincoln was a congressman, and he wanted to see the spot where the Mexicans had killed an American or something.
Well, you
I'm
know,
familiar with that.
it's interesting
You ever heard
to
of the
know
Spot
that,
Resolution?
they came in there and killed a bunch of us Tennessee boys at the what's that battle down there in Texas at the Alamo.
That was
killed a bunch of them Texas boys.
That's where we went down
Tennessee
there to
boys.
San Jacinto and paid them back.
Yeah, and about, it wasn't too long. They just went to them. The Americans did just like a dose of Epsom salt.
But, I believe there's a lot of history that I must have missed. Right?
Well, I ain't gonna read all that. You
No,
gotta read it.
well,
You
no,
want to.
we are.
That's too much reading to go for me.
Yeah, my eyes already crossed.
Well, it wasn't any sense at all in ever fighting the Spanish-American War. Because we're going to let them walk across here anyhow. I mean, what was the use of fighting?
Well, I'll tell you what I think we could do. I mean, what the Republicans ought to do is say, yeah, you guys are just feeling so sorry for these immigrants, and we're all for it. First thing, we're going to work on securing the border. We always promised we're going to. We're really going to do it this time. And oh, by the way, we're going to let all these people have a guest worker card if they want a job, but we're not going to let them vote. We're not going to give them citizenship.
Right.
Well, that'll get the Democrats off the bandwagon to bring them
Oh,
in to
yeah,
start
yeah,
with.
that,
But it'll also appease the Chamber of Commerce that's wanting this cheap labor.
right, yeah, okay. Not on the Chamber of Commerce, not really the Chamber of Commerce, you know, it's more or less American industry.
Well, yeah, but
you
the
know.
National Chamber of Commerce supports
Oh,
immigration.
yeah, I know they do, but you know, all they are is in the retail Chamber of Commerce.
But that's all for. I mean, if they that I don't know why these guys don't say that. That's the logical thing. They ought to be out there arguing that. Look, these people are here, and they're contributing. They're paying taxes and stuff like that. We're going to start letting people hire them legal. And we're
Yeah,
going to make sure we enforce our
But would
border.
that not be taxation without representation?
Well, they can go home.
Huh?
I don't get to vote in Mexico.
You ain't make no money down there and pay no taxes either.
No, but if I went down there and paid taxes, they still wouldn't let me vote.
Well, I know they wouldn't,
Well, why should it be any different here?
because they don't have Democrats and Republicans down there.
They don't have much of an election either, don't reckon. Kind of like around here.
Securing the border, from what I'm seeing in documentaries and whatever, and I don't know if it's the whole thing, but it looks like it's almost a free fire zone down there for the residents.
Yeah.
They're getting, well, they're bound by American law, and well, they're just being overrun, is what it boils down to.
Well, now they're not. There's simple ways to solve most of these problems that you hear so much about, but they're not wanting to solve these problems.
No, if we wanted to secure that border, we could do it.
Sure, good. They had more firepower out at the Bundy Ranch than they do on the border.
Well, good point. But here's the. Whenever we think of the border, most people only think about the people coming from Mexico. A lot of these people are coming from further south than Mexico.
Yeah.
They're coming through Mexico.
Yeah, they're coming up through Mexico.
They're not allowed to stay in Mexico. They got to beat a speedy retreat and they get in Mexico.
Well, what is to keep a lot of undesirables as far as terrorists and whatever from coming across the same way? If you think about like the situation that's going on over there in the Ukraine, I don't think anybody in their right mind would want to go to war, just what we consider a world war. Your imagination would be the only limit as to what you would be seeing. If we get into, well, other countries I'm sure have got the same thing we have, and if you start out with nuclear, biological, and all these type of things, which we're not allowed to use, but yet we have them, and if we're not allowed to use them, I don't understand why we put so much research and development into them if we're not allowed to use them, which it would be a
You've
terrible
never
thing to
seen
do.
it boil down to the whole adage that You ain't gonna win no territory at all without foot soldiers.
Okay, we don't want to think about it, but if we were to get into a real serious thing right now, if it were fought on our land here, and it could very easily be done through terrorists. I mean, we got hit on the Twin Towers, but if you could just imagine, what if you put an airplane in Iran and you pick up so many hundred over there and you bring them to the coast of Mexico, put them ashore right there, and all they have to do is cross the border.
Well, they never thought of that.
Or West Coast. Yeah, but we're talking about, there's differences whenever you say soldiers. There's differences in soldiers. Some of them are battle hardened, and that makes a lot of difference in a soldier.
Oh yeah.
It's been a kind of a proven fact that most soldiers, when they go into battle for the first time, if there's any way that they can duck and dodge and
Most
run,
of them don't even fire their gun.
they'll do it. And I guess it boils back down to law of survival or whatever else. And it can go to all sorts of things. There's no end to what would cause a person not to stand up there and become cannon fodder or whatever else. But the point I'm trying to make is, if we get into a very serious conflict in the Asia, or the Ukraine, or whatever else.
You're talking about over in the Ukraine.
Yeah, the Ukraine. But it could easily spread. If it becomes serious enough, our country could be doing some fighting on our own land, our own territory. It could very easily happen.
Well,
now, I think personally that we have a false sense of security as far as the security of all of our weapons and whatever. And the nun from the plowshares thing, that should give people cold chills if you just stop and think about it, how 3 individuals can get that close. And this guy who got in the wheel well of the airplane, if that don't give you some cold chills, what, hypothetically speaking, let's say that he didn't want to ride. Let's say that was a terrorist who wanted to go up to that aircraft, put a package in that wheel well, and walk off. You see, he went up there, went in that wheel well, that airplane made the trip. Had that been something other than a person, if he'd have put a package in that wheel well and triggered it by any means that your imagination can give you, that aircraft would have been spread all over the area somewhere.
well, yeah, of course. Or you can put a timer on it, or you can put a pressure sort of thing.
Pressure. There's all sorts of ways that you could trigger a device.
Don't try this at home, kids.
No, don't try none of this. But here's the thing: the general population is so
Nice.
tied up. Well, they're tied up in everything.
They're too worried about whether they're going to fire that guy that owns the coach, that owns the ball team, that kind of foolishness.
That owns the Los Angeles Clippers.
Yeah.
That stuff.
How can they fire him if he owns it?
You know what I think these people that want to change the name of the Washington Redskins ought to be saying?
I think so.
I think what we should... I think we should say we're going to change the name of the Washington Redskins sometime after they change the name of the NAACP and the American Negro College Fund.
Right.
Well, I had a way out crazy idea years ago. I thought, there's been some...
Planting trees is the best thing I've heard of lately.
Well, if people of color wanted to really mess up the thinking of this country, the Confederate battle flag, which has the appearance of a very nice looking flag, but what if people of color had adopted that as their flag?
Yep.
And I mean, it's according to how you look at things. You see, they could have adopted that flag as their flag because of the suffering that they did under that and whatever else. Can you imagine what that would have done psychologically?
It's been good.
Well, I mean, when you come right down to it, it's a symbol. But if they could have took it over as to show of the suffering and what they survived and captured it as theirs.
I don't know whether that
would have been.
I don't know whether that would have worked too well or not. What if the Jews had adopted the swastika?
I don't know. I hadn't thought it that far through. But that's a very good point. But I thought that would really have messed up the thinking at that time.
Well, I don't think anybody would gain anything by adapting the swastika because even the German people reject Nazism.
The American people have rejected the Confederate flag.
Well, no, but there's still those people who appreciate the Southern history, and a few rednecks just appreciate the
There's a lot of skinheads going around with the swastikas on them too.
Well, that's true too.
That's true too. Well, I may have not thought it through completely, but I thought it would have been interesting.
The man could put one of them on his flags on his truck if he had one.
You know,
but I believe somebody would have had to found another something
to raise Cain about.
Yeah,
but you know what amazes me, that if you can depict yourself as a victim,
yeah,
in any situation, and keep depicting yourself as a victim, then you're entitled to all kind of sympathy and government funding and opportunity, you know. And I think really, black people, like say I have some black heritage, I think they ought to, rather than consider themselves as a victim, that they should consider themselves as having the greatest opportunity that black people have ever had in the history of mankind here in this country.
That's true. They're a lot better off. The residents of the African descendants are better off here than if it stayed in Africa.
Yeah.
That ain't saying too much for the people.
Yeah, but I ain't telling about those that died on welfare. That's what they keep harping on. Say, just think how grand and glorious it's been for the.
Well, I'm still mad about what they did to my people when they sent some of them off to Oklahoma.
Me too. Yeah. Yeah, I tell you, they didn't furnish them no horses, no bicycles.
No.
You don't hear a whole lot said about that. Whenever you what Hitler did to the Jewish people, and America done some pretty rough things to all people. It boils back down to the time, the situation, and what scares people. I don't think the Indians, I don't think the white people were afraid of them so much as a group as they was individuals, but what they really wanted, I believe, was what the wealth, being the real estate or whatever else that the Indians held, is mostly what they wanted.
Oh yeah, well, you know, they stood in the way of expansionism, and everybody thinks people came to this country for religious freedom, mainly. It didn't. They came here mainly for land.
Right, and whatever it took to take it.
Whatever, because all the land in Europe basically was tied up in this feudal system almost, you know. And England, about all the big acreage was owned by the barons and the earls and the dukes and the duchesses and all that royal paraphernalia that comes along with that. And under the feudal system, basically the king owned everything, you know. He allotted an estate to this duke and this one, you know. But when you came here, you had land. And when you run out of land where you were, you did like Daniel Boone, you moved. And you found additional land. You know, Daniel Boone at one time had I think somewhere around about 50,000 acre grant in North Carolina, but it got too crowded for him, so he moved. Where was it? To Kentucky? Wasn't that where he went to? Daniel
well,
Boone.
He went
And,
to Kentucky, and
Uh,
then he ended up, I believe, in Missouri.
I guess he wondered how a man could get so crowded on his own land. He might be like an old buddy of mine, Lindsey Troxler. Lindsey decided he would have him a Woodstock. He would have his own concert and everything. He and his brother, each one of them had 500 acres of piece out there north of Greensboro going toward Virginia. And so Lindsey organized him, along with some others, a Woodstock. 15 years later, they were still moving people off of Lindsey's farm. They had built shacks,
What did they
shacks
say?
and sheds out there, and Lindsey was an old man. He couldn't keep up with who was living on his property.
Yeah, they'd homesteaded him.
Yeah, they just home there. And then he had a big old magnificent house. So did his brothers. They were two German brothers. They came in there and they wound up with 500 acres apiece. And by now, well, good. Lindsey, they dug wells and everything on Lindsey. I used to laugh at him. I said, "Have you discovered anybody else here lately, Lindsey?"
Well, that's interesting. It's amazing how if you could foresee the results of some of the things that we do, we'd probably do them a lot different, I'd say.
I don't think Lindsey ever got anything out of all that except getting drunk, and having all that commotion around him. I don't think he ever made any money off of it.
Yeah, there's what Ronnie's talking about the ball team owners or whatever. I never could get into ball very much. I never had the time, I don't believe. I was always working. But when I first heard this thing, it made no sense to me anyhow. I heard part of the conversation, and it appeared to me that the person who was doing the taping was leading or allowing the other person to say things or something. I couldn't really put my finger on it.
Right.
But the last thing I heard was that there was some fellow that was interested in buying this ball team.
He may have staged there.
Something along those lines. A former ball player who has lots of money or is associated with people who have lots of money that are looking to invest.
Right.
And like I say, to me, 100 years from now, it won't make any difference who said what about what. And a lot of our thinking and whatever, or our ideas go back as far as when it comes to race and whatever else, as to how we were raised. And some people change. They see things different as they go along.
Well,
whatever.
I've seen so many changes in my life. I never forget, over about 6-7 miles from where we were raised was a black section called Mount Zion, okay? And on a Sunday, after we had been to church, the black kids had been to church and the white kids would go to church, we'd go over there and slingshot fight one another. Okay, and we not only used rocks, we broke up plow points and everything else to shoot at one another.
Serious,
yeah, we was pretty serious. And then when Sunday was over, we'd go and play ball and everything together, and be right back together. But we had that traditional slingshot fight, between the two races.
Does anybody know what 5629370 means?
I did it one time. I'm telling you, I am thankful that I remembered that
It's
number.
good for more than just mater juice fatalities.
Yeah, that is the mater juice special. If you were to get food poisoning from some of that mater juice, that's the very number that you want to call. And that's the one I called.
Vital care. Vital care.
Vital care medical transport.
Well, did you call?
They're in business, independent, privately owned, It didn't cost him 1 cent, the county 1 cent to come pick me up.
Well, did you call 562-9370 or did you call
Yeah, I did. I
911
called
and ask for it?
562-9370, but I couldn't remember what the number was for 911.
Well, if you can't remember 562-9370, but you can remember 911, you can call 911 and tell them to send vital care.
Right, they can do that. You can do that. If you can remember what, you might have to call 562-9370 to find out what the number is for 911.
It's hard to call 911 and get to talk to anybody about business or anything because their number's unlisted.
Oh, mate.
Well,
Fellas,
you still remember the new post office's number?
no, and I ain't going to learn it again either. I'm done with that. Here's the thing. You fellas got 4 minutes and a few seconds to go here. If you want to wrap it up, I'm done talking.
I done told you everything I know.
I don't know a whole lot of stuff.
We'll just quit now then.
Stir some.
If I'm good, I
Yes,
might tell you folks, I got 3 good lawnmowers down here. And they're not, there's no operator furnished, okay? These are push mowers, okay? I got 3 lawnmowers, and good ones, and they will not last through tomorrow.
I loaned my lawnmower out yesterday.
You loaned it.
Yeah.
Did you get out of the
Did
fence?
you loan one of them goats out?
Yeah.
How about that?
I loaned out old Stratton.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Loaned it to Richard's daddy-in-law.
All right, okay.
He had a hillside he wanted mowed.
Hey, I found me another nanny.
You want another Billy to go with him?
No,
With her?
no. I got 2. I got that little bitty Billy that was just born.
What do you do to an egg-sucking dog besides kill him?
If the dog tries to get that little...
No, I said, what do you do with an egg-sucking dog besides kill him?
Get rid of your chicken.
Well, he done that for me, or she done that for me. I had 3 hens, and it was one of them. 2 of them went out in the woods somewhere and hid their eggs, stole their nest out. And this one here, the one that had been gone the longest, and she was about due to hatch. And the dog found her and broke up the nest and brought the eggs in, ate them. So she's back out with the rooster. I got 2 more. One of them's in the building.
I'll tell you what might work.
What?
If you can take an egg and take the inside out of it and put something in there that's really distasteful for him, like some peppers or something, but the thing of it is, the dog is smelling is so sensitive.
Right.
The chances are he can pick it out if you don't.
Yeah. He probably smelled them there little chickens in there he's eating too.
You probably could hear them.
I guess he could.
Yeah.
Or she could.
If you, that might be an alternative.
That may be how she found the nest.
Could be.
Because that's about ready to hatch.
Yeah. He's about getting ready to get you some diddles.
It's been another wonderful night, folks.
Yeah, folks.
We'll be on Saturday on the radio.
Yeah, we will. We'll be there.
You never did tell
You
us
gonna
about
be
the
there this Saturday?
Cornbread.
festival.
Oh, we'll talk about it, but I didn't
Okay.
get no cornbread. I went all the way to South Pittsburgh and didn't get no cornbread.
That's bad.
They had-
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania?
Tennessee.
Oh.
South Pittsburgh,
Is
Tennessee.
that down below Philadelphia, Tennessee?
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, it
Okay.
really is.
Yeah,
Way
we
on down there. It's out to the right of Chattanooga, out toward Murfreesboro.
Cleveland, the place
Yeah,
Cleveland.
yeah. You go to Chattanooga and go to Georgia and back out to get there. But now, here's the thing. They had this here one, they call it Cornbread Alley. They had a street there. They had, I mean, it was the whole town is cornbread. And it's a little podunk place, but now they had a big turnout, a massive turnout in my book. But they had this one street there blocked off for the cornbread thing. And what you do, you go in there and you pay a little bit extra to go out there and you get to sample all these different cornbreads and come back down, you know, and see what you like and what you don't like and try all these different recipes. But the line to get in there was about a half-mile long and I didn't go. I wasn't going to go down there and get in line to eat cornbread and wait. I just hate lines.
You go down there, take me up?
Huh?
You get to go up to the end of the line and say, you take me up?
What you do is you go up there and say, I got that there Ebola.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
But see you, folks.
Let me show
See
you how to do
Saturday.
this now.
Right, see
You
you
say,
Saturday.
stop, bro.